Hello, Way Home family. Hello, YouTube family. Steffi Starr here from the Way Home. I am today so thrilled to be with our sister Tara. Tara is here for her 1 month post, hi Onyx, awakening ceremony interview. She journeyed a heroic dose psilocybin journey back on June 1st. And we are here to talk about how she's doing 1 month after her experience. So Tara, welcome. It's good to see you.
Same here.
All right. So if you would just remind the folks at home, as they say on the telly, what is your name, your age, and what was your intention for your ceremony when it happened a month ago?
Sarah, 53. What was the third question?
Your intention.
Okay. Yeah, the most important thing. Really to slow down the mind, slow down the body, know what needed to be known that has been stuck inside of me, and really just show up differently in life. Really kind of like see behind the scenes of what I haven't been seeing.
Okay. And that's perfect for what spirit molecules do for us. I always like to share with people, after you've done the yoga, after you've done the meditation, after you've done the breath work, after you've read the books and sat through the conferences and met the guru, all the things that we do with our mind eventually exhaust themselves. We get to a threshold where we know that there's something more, there's more to know, but we have no idea how to access that. And quite frankly, I do believe that that is why these spirit molecules exist in nature from across the animal, fungi, and plant kingdom, to allow us access to those higher dimensions, outer realms, whereby the mind is not necessary and we really need to be heart-centric. So I appreciate that, everyone gets vetted from me and nobody comes to this work with me who hasn't done all of the head stuff and all of the body stuff. But then eventually we get to the point where the molecules are the only way forward. And it was an honor to sit with you in ceremony and watch your process and do integration with you since then. So let's just jump right in. In general, not even necessarily related to the experience itself, but a month after the experience, how are you feeling in general? Whether you want to share that physically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, intellectually, where is Tara right now? How are you feeling in general?
My thought process is different. I'm more present. I have a lot of aha moments. I see life differently. I'm happier. I mean, I'm happy in general, but I just I'm on another level. I can't wait to do the next one. Yeah, I know life is so precious, and I'm halfway through my life, and I know there's so much more after this, but it's so much has just happened since ceremony. And I'm pretty sure a lot of it has to do with the ceremony of what came out uh physically, emotionally, spiritually during the whole process. So I feel like I'm a different person. Even people say, even though I still have anxiety, more than I should, or anyone should, people feel like I'm more at peace. People have said that a couple of times. Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. Okay, so specific to your experience a month ago, what would you say, where would you say you're at right now? Again, all 5 of those categories: psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically. What can you say you definitely notice a difference in as it relates to your journey from a month ago? What in your life is different than it was a month ago? What changes have you gone through in the interim that you really can kind of attribute to, wow, this wasn't this way before, I had this experience and now X, Y, and Z is totally different?
I'm not a rat pack, but I like a lot of things, and my house is very full. I mean, this is, no rug anymore. I had a rug, table, a lot of things that I removed. And I just felt like I was ready to give it up or move it out, move the new space, because Steffi and I spoke and I wasn't ready to. And literally an hour later, I'm showing her pictures of everything that I'm removing. So, the knickknacks and everything. So I feel like when I come home, even though I love my home, I come home to fresh space and openness and clearing. So that was a major thing. And I'm even like getting a smaller table. I don't need so big. I'm one person and I have 6 chairs. Maybe they're spirit guides that are sitting here hanging out with me every day, but
They don't need a chair though.
it's true, they're floating.
They can float.
All right. Um, before ceremony, and I feel I was prepping for ceremony while I was in my 21-day fast, I chopped my hair like 5 inches. Just every day, there's just this new pop, this new aha moment that I get to realize things, and setting boundaries with people, getting rid of situation. My eating habits are healthier. I mean, I'm in Steffi's support group, but it's like in a month of how I've changed in such a short period of time is just mind blowing. And I really contribute a lot of it from ceremony. It just so many different ways.
Yeah, may I share an aspect of ceremony that we talked about? Yeah, it's not going to come as a shock to you, but I definitely notice a difference because, we've been involved with one another. You obviously are part of the disordered eating group. So what I remember and what I'm so blown away by is when I sit and hold space for people in ceremony, I generally get a word. There's like a theme that's almost downloaded that I always wind up sharing with someone after ceremony, after they're pretty much out of their experience for the most part. So I remember that your word was attachment. And in addition to getting the word attachment as the theme of your ceremony, I also got what I was told was the antidote for attachment. And that was you understanding the definition of enough. And I remember sharing that with you. And I even remember our 1 week post interview because it took a little time. Things kind of had to shake out and settle, but we had discussed the fact that your life, your mind, your schedule, your home were very full. You had a lot of stuff hanging around in the house. You had a lot of stuff hanging around in your schedule. You had a lot of stuff hanging around in your mind, a compulsive thought. Which, is just part of the human experience. We go through compulsive thought until we come out of it. But I remember attachment to things, attachment to doing, attachment to your thoughts. And you needed to understand the definition of enough. And literally, folks, when I tell you that an hour after we got off the 1 week interview, this woman is sending me before and after pictures of the things in her home that she's just suddenly understood are not of service to her. And because they're not of service and they're taking up valuable space and emptiness, and ultimately that translates into expansiveness. It allows us to become more expansive when we have room, when there's an empty wall, when there's an open floor, and none of that. Like you can look behind Tara right now. She showed us. There is a big white rectangular square. I had been to her home prior to ceremony. None of that was there. Everywhere you looked had something in it. So as above, so below. As within, so without. When our environment is full and chaotic, our mind is full and chaotic. And I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but I know one of them has to get cleaned up in order for the other one to get cleaned up. Her schedule opened up. She's relaxed herself with certain things that she felt like she had to do and had to participate in. And what I have noticed over this month in engaging with you is there is room, there is space, there is openness in your home, in your heart, in your head, in your schedule. And it has allowed for an expansion of energy that, including up until today, I got an email from her that literally I laughed out loud and my eyes welled up. Like I was crying and laughing at the same time. And she's like, I set a boundary here. I cut this relationship loose. Like you have been on a tear for the last 3 weeks since we interviewed last. And it has just been such a joy because I notice like the tempo coming down when people say to you, you just seem more at peace. I know exactly where that came from. I can trace it right back to attachment to things, attachment to doing, attachment to thinking. And the way you've purged your home, which then allowed for a purge in your mind and a purge in your schedule, like I do this for a living. I watch people dramatically transform their lives after ceremony. And girl, I got to tell you, you're at the tippy top. You have had the most profound, I named the last interview, one of the most dramatic and profound outcomes I've ever experienced. And 3 weeks later, it's more dramatic and more pronounced. So good on you for heeding the call and humbling yourself and submitting yourself to your higher awarenesses. Because listen, a lot of times the call is coming in and we'll even pick up the receiver, but we don't act on the information. So you've acted on the information, sister. I have nothing but love and respect for you and for that. So if you want to add anything in there, please.
I know one major challenge. Yes, my eating, I'm hearing a ringing. One thing that maybe eventually, and I've said this in our group before, is that I might give up sugar. My reality is I'm not going to say I am, because if I don't, I don't. But because my body's inflamed a lot, which was interesting. In the ceremony, my voice changed, which we both agree that it was my inner child. So that's another piece that we're going to be working on together. And my spirit guide's pulling on my ear. I want to find a good audible book on inner child. I was looking last night. So I'm gonna dive into that too, because I haven't really touched on that, and that's a lot that's going on that I need to work on.
Sure. It's a lot for all of us. I am a firm believer that inner child work is absolutely imperative while we're here. If we truly want to be free of ourselves, you can make it through life without doing inner child work, but you will not live at your highest and best capacity if inner child work isn't done. Because until we do inner child work, the inner child kind of runs the show. We can show up at a job, we can show up at a relationship, we can show up in all kinds of ways and look completely present, accounted for, responsible, conscientious. But in the wee hours of the night, in the darkness of our addictions and compulsions, that inner child is throwing a tantrum that sometimes only we have an audience to. And until we invest in the work it takes to cool and calm that inner child, we're going to live with that stuff by ourselves, because we know how to put a good face on to the world. Nobody would know anything's wrong with most of us, but all of us know what's going on the inside. So yeah, inner child work is imperative, and I'm thrilled we're going to get to that. Do you have any awarenesses around that day, around that experience 1 month out, that you feel like are important for people to understand if they're contemplating this work, if they're thinking about doing a ceremony of their own, or even in any way, shape, or form trying to, level up and exercise themselves of their own interpersonal demons?
Is that you can't force it. It has to feel right. And I had my own experience with that. And we mentioned in the other interviews, but that Steffi and I spoke, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago, as a touch point. And I was more curious, but I wasn't even ready then. And then we spoke, I don't know, 5, 6 months ago, maybe.
Now we're going on like end of last summer. So almost a year ago.
A year ago.
Yeah.
We spoke, and I wasn't ready. And I always forget your line. You'll know when you can't not do it.
Yeah. If you're thinking about it, you're not ready. It's when the fear and the anxiety and the concern, you can't not do it. That's how you know you're ready. That even when you're scared or you're confused or you don't understand it, you still have to do it because you have to. That's when you know you're ready.
Yeah. And I actually had a session booked with someone else, and twice it was postponed. I had tooth stuff. The universe helped me. And there was even some hesitation in working with Steffi that I shared with her initially. And vice versa. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting how we kind of felt the same thing. But anyway, the timing was right. I felt it. And that's when Steffi was like, you'll know, because we even had an appointment, you and I. Yeah. We did. And I was just like, and then I just knew when I'm ready. And then even when I came out of ceremony, I knew I was going to do another one. And I'll probably do a lot more, but it's the feeling. It's that you can't rush it. You don't get to control this.
See, 100%.
You don't get to control this because it will be the wrong outcome.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it could even maybe mess you up even more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why a really knowledgeable and wise facilitator is so important, because you can do damage if it isn't the right time, and the right person will flesh out when is and is not the right time. I knew when we talked 3 years ago, nothing was going to come to pass. It really was just like a tire kicking. And then I knew a year ago, I was a little hesitant, and I thought, I don't know if this is right for her. We can kind of, I'm also, because I believe that the universe operates so mysteriously, I never know anything. I always have an awareness that something might be the case, but I leave a door open for the potential, because I could be seeing it, I could be perceiving it incorrectly. So I also understand that about myself. But I was like, I didn't think. And then the more I saw you doing like real work, I saw you start the 21-day fast and kill it. I saw you sign up for self-care school without batting an eye. And I'm like, oh, all of this stuff had to happen to pave a smoother road. And God knows your ceremony was not smooth. It was one of the most physical, charismatic, borderline Pentecostal ceremonies. And like, I've sat with the devil in ceremony. Your ceremony was so animated. So it wasn't a smooth road for you, but I knew that all of the work that could have been done had been done by you with your mind. And now it was time to go into the heart. It was time to get out of the mind. And, it's just reflective of the work that still needs doing. It's reflective of the inner child work that hasn't been touched. You had a very animated ceremony, but girl, if we had done it any earlier without the fast, without self-care school, yeah, based on what I saw after all of that, I would not have wanted to be in the same room. I would have done you harm by serving you those molecules any earlier. So this is why facilitation matters. This is why a wise facilitator with experience, I mean, we all need to learn somehow, but somebody who's charging you a decent amount of money to sit with you, better know it's not about the money, and better understand, like, there's a time for everything. And if it's not that person's time, you can do more damage than good, for sure. So I love that we trusted the process. I love that nobody had an attachment to a specific outcome. Like, I want it on this day, I want it at this time, all of that matters. We have to let the universe come in. The YO universe is here to protect us, support us, and deliver the highest and best outcomes. So in concert, our awareness and willingness, in combination with the divine timing and the grace of our higher self, the outer realms, that's what combines for highest and best outcomes, for exactly what we need in exactly the right moment. And I know that's what you got on that day. I have no doubt that you were so properly prepared. It was the absolute right time. And that's why we were there and we were doing it. It was lovely. So is there anything, looking back over the course of a month, that, because I remember when we asked this question at a week out, there were some struggles. Looking back over the course of a month and understanding how all of this has unfolded in your day-to-day, is there anything now you look back at and you say, that was a struggle that I wish I hadn't experienced, or that was a part of it that was so challenging, I'm not sure I was ready for it? Is there anything that you look back on a month out from the experience where you say, this was a little concerning?
Yeah, well, it was very physical. I mean, it was exhausting. And I, like, from the heart to the stomach, the solar, the sacral,
Solar
it
plexus,
wanted to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wanted to come out. And that's what I hope. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I feel that that's because we booked another ceremony. I feel that that's the next step, like getting that part out, whether it's really throwing up or still purging. But that's what I feel like. There's a stuckness here that didn't come out, which will eventually come out when it will come out.
Yeah. All right. And what now? Is there any part of the experience a month out that you look back on and you realize that was the universe looking out for me? That was my higher self revealing something to me that now I have so much comfort or so much relief, or an answer to a question about? Anything along those lines that you can report?
That I take on people's pain, and that's why my body feels it. And the little girl kept saying, I don't want it. I don't want it. And like I walk around my house and I hear that voice and I say it, I don't want it. And it could be many things. Like, you know, I don't want that ice cream. It could be, so that word, that term, I don't want it, is a good thing because it keeps me on track and it's a reminder of what I don't want that doesn't serve me.
Right. Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways a month later? What do you feel like you really learned? What do you feel like has benefited you? What do you look back on the experience and go, this was a really big thing that's happened that I feel like I didn't understand this well before the ceremony?
I don't know if it's so much understanding, but I think it was more finding out, if that makes sense. Like,
What did you find out? What are you?
yeah, like, well, the relationship with my dad, we
I was going to
touched
bring
on
that up.
that.
You had a very profound shift in your awareness around your father. And your
Yeah,
father was a big part of ceremony afterward because you came out and you were talking about him.
yeah, yeah. I can't change him. I believe I chose him. My experience with him is my experience with him. You know, how I react, how I am. I'm visualizing the whole scene.
Yeah.
Conscious about my belly, and I had my shirt off. I mean, I still had a tank on. And I remember I was like outside and Dominic was there, a male figure, which I felt was important for my ceremony, but I don't feel that I need that in my second. I just wanted the male support. So that's something like it was a freeing feeling being outside, even though I still remember I was still protected with like a pillow around my belly, but I still was still outside with the tank off, but still having it was a water cup. It was a water cup in front of me. Um, I'm really looking forward to what will show up, whether it's hard, not hard, beautiful, easy. Oh, I remember the beautiful smile that I looked over to, like that moment you even said to me, because he felt maybe through, like that smile was everything.
Right.
That was the most silent message ever.
Yeah. For sure.
You know.
Yeah, you had just spent like 15 minutes in self-induced stillness because there was one point during the journey where I knew you were exhausted. I knew, like, the whole room was exhausted, to be honest. The energy was so intense for so many hours. And I generally don't engage with people. I do not try to direct, but something I knew you needed to experience stillness. And it took a little while to get you there. But I asked you, I said, can you give me 5 minutes? Can you give yourself 5 minutes of stillness? And it took a while to get there. And I set an alarm and you kept saying, are you setting the alarm? And I'm like, well, you're not still yet. And then you finally calmed down and you got still. And I set the alarm and the 5-minute timer went off and you turned over. You were face down for whatever reason. There's a reason for all of it when we're in ceremony. But when the timer went off, you turned over on your back and you laid there in complete stillness for almost 15 minutes straight, which, for those of you who don't know, Tara cannot really be still for very long, even just in her regular life because of certain medical conditions. She is continually having to move and adjust to regulate a chronic pain condition. So you laid there for 15 minutes of your own accord. And finally, and I was going to let you lay there as long as you needed to, because I know you need stillness. And at one point you looked over at me and the smile that you talk about, it was the loudest silent message I've ever heard. And it was so loud. And I looked at you and I'm like, well, what's your pain level? And it was like you kind of rolled your eyes like, I'm not having any pain. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It was such a profoundly powerful part. And that is one thing I want to mention because you haven't brought it up this far, but since we last spoke, you have developed a practice for yourself where you commit to a certain amount of stillness every day, if you want to talk about that or not. But stillness is such a powerful tool in our becoming and our spiritual evolution. So whatever aspect of that you'd like to discuss, I'd love to hear your version of it, but it hasn't come up. We're almost done the interview. So I'm like, I definitely want to bring up the stillness practice you've developed.
Yeah, I'll lay in bed like 1 to 2 times, like morning and night in stillness, and which is challenging for me. I do with no music and I just sit there and I have my eyes closed. But I wanted to say to you jokingly, I was still, but then my cat ran across me, so I had a jiggle. So does that count that I was still still?
Yes, it does.
But no, I had it was nice. I'm feeling more into it. I'm enjoying it more. And like I want to stay in it longer.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
I
practice one
remember
to two times a day.
I remember when we first talked about stillness, it was like, I don't want to do that. I have to do that. I don't want to do, it was like a petulant child who didn't want to do what, mommy, your higher self was telling you to do. And, like with every discipline, with every aspect of self-care, we start out thinking we have to do it. And then we realize we get to do it. And then we fall in love with doing it. And that's the beauty of discipline and commitment in our life, is if we can get out of our comfort zone, grit our teeth, and make it through the initial, I don't really want to do this. When it's for our highest and best outcomes, it becomes the thing we can't live without eventually. So that's a really important lesson for a lot of us to learn.
And I was going to take a picture. It was right at the door when I got home. I just got the weighted blanket.
Okay, good.
So I want to practice with that and see how that feels.
So obviously you have already admitted to booking your second journey. And if you would just talk a little bit about how and why you feel like that's an important aspect of this whole endeavor.
Yeah, for me, there's so much more to be explored and developed, and that I want more, even though
Yeah.
it was, it was beautiful, but painful in the
Yeah.
same. So it's like, I know what I, not that I know, but I have an awareness of what can be, right?
Yep.
I mean, it was, I don't want to say the word horrific. It was an intense experience.
Yep.
And I feel if I could get through that, if it's worse, fine. If it's better, great. Like it is what it is.
Right.
So I just know that there's more, and I feel there's even a third.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just there's so much more to come out of me that needs to be shown to me and revealed. I'm not at my peak. There,
Yeah.
I feel it. I need it. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, when I talk to clients, participants, and because the way this work is, everybody winds up becoming friends slash family. At a certain point, we're building a relationship with these experiences. I have built a relationship with these molecules over 8 years. I have rewired my brain. I have changed my neural pathways. That's the physiology of enduring and experiencing these ceremonies, these journeys repeatedly over the course of building a relationship. I don't do them, maybe once a year, maybe once every 18 months, a high dose ceremony. I'm at a point now where I don't believe I'll ever do a high dose ceremony again, at least not cognitively. If I'm called to it, I am she who says yes. I do what the universe asks. But just a couple times a year, I engage in a low dose ceremony just to have that reconnection, just to have that remembering of myself to my highest source energy version. But we don't live, even if it's just one lifetime, but for those of us who believe that we traverse lifetimes, we traverse millennia in multiple incarnations of source energy as various avatars called human beings. We don't resolve all of that trauma and drama with one ayahuasca journey or one mushroom ceremony. Like, it took us eons to get where we are. So it's going to take more than 5 hours on a Tuesday afternoon sitting in ceremony to unravel what we are, what millennia have created in us. And I appreciate you being aware of that and being willing to do the work, because these are, I've probably done 30 ceremonies over 8 years. I'm still scared crapless before each one. And I have managed to talk myself out of Oh, because I mean, energetically, something would show up to show me that, yeah, you don't have to do this today. But I can't tell you that every single one of them, I wasn't, my hand wasn't shaking with the juice in my cup. So I appreciate every time somebody shows up and understands the depths and the multitudes and the relationship that has to be formed with these molecules. And again, it doesn't have to be with me. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to come back to the way home, but that this work gets done over years sometimes is so important for people to understand. And a month out from this particular journey, your very first heroic dose psilocybin journey, what can you say to somebody who feels like it's for them? They're allowing fear and uncertainty to get in the way. How would you recommend the experience for someone who does feel drawn to it, but is kind of still in the, I don't really know if I should be doing this phase?
Yeah, I would say, and I know you'll be like, whether it's you or someone else, connect with Steffi. Don't watch a lot of things out there, because then you're going to have these misconceptions. You want to have your own experience, but reach out to Steffi. She will educate you. She will make you feel comfortable. If she feels it's not right for you at the time, she will tell you. She's not here to, take your money. And it's not even the point is she knows what you need, because she's like the universe in that moment guiding you. So yeah, just don't read a lot of what's out there, because you don't overwhelm yourself, basically.
Right.
Kind of like be more laser focused and have conversations with someone, if it happens to be
Right.
Steffi, that's a facilitator that is recommended, and start with that, and
Yeah.
have questions, and then ask yourself also, why do I want to do this? Like, start with that. Why do I want to do this? What do I want to get out of it? How do I want to change my life? Yeah, and be wise about it.
I appreciate the kind words you had for me. And I do want to say to anybody watching this who is in that place, perhaps where you think it may be for you, you feel a call towards it, but you just don't know where to go. I am so in love with being of service to my human family. I'm so enamored with allowing people to discover information that can only serve them down the road, that it doesn't have to be with me. I love consulting with people and giving information out. If you're willing to be authentic and transparent with me, I can help you understand where to go, how to find the experience you're looking for. I love having those conversations, and it does not have to end up in you coming to the way home and being a client. So twhic.com is the website. The link will be down in the description for this video. You can get information on the site about ceremony, about how to build a toolbox from just the traditions in our heritage, in our lineage, in our ancestry. There's so many tools out there, but at a certain point, we go through the toolbox, we get to the point where there's more answers and all the tools have been exhausted. And that's really where Spirit Molecule comes in. So yeah, I appreciate everybody at home watching. Tara, thank you so much. Not only, sister, for being willing to do the work, because that's the most important part, and your willingness is inspiring, but your desire to be of service to your human family by participating in these interviews and sharing your experience so as to be useful and providing knowledge to our human family. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for the way this is happening in your life. It is such an honor to be in the front row and watch the Tara show, because trust me, folks, it's astounding to watch this woman transform, and transform she is. She's actually ascending. There are ways in which she's ascended. She has certainly leveled up since we began working together in the beginning of the year, and it's just been such a joy to watch. Thank you for including me.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like the video. There's information down in the description. If you find this information useful, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. All that information is below. And I look forward to seeing you in the way home, whether it's physically in Florida or in the way home in the universe. Have a beautiful day. Aho.
Bye.